I made a press release a few days ago to talk about individuals who were planning to eliminate their political opponents. And that was based on very informed, intelligent resources of our own. As I said, we are keeping those individuals under surveillance. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to assure you that anybody attempting that type of thing in Liberia will deal with them with every measure of ruthlessness. I think we have gone through too much suffering to allow individuals to contemplate on eliminating people only because they have their political opponents. So I'm tired of hearing at that time. So I said, well, I'll proceed that. Yeah. I didn't want to go to wrong people, so you know what I mean. What is it? And it's not necessarily important that the kind of I'm not seeing you for so long. Rather, give me track of yeah, please sit down. For me, I think it's a privilege that I should have the opportunity of addressing the political leaders of the country. We have scheduled this meeting for 12 o'clock. We didn't reckon with the rain. I've got some people while we were waiting for the rest to arrive. Some are saying it's impossible to get here because of the flood. About 2-3 political parties are called. So I said, rather keep you waiting, which would be very rude on my part as a soldier. I better come and talk to those of you that are here. What I wanted us to discuss was something that we assist ourselves. So even though we are not all complete here, I think I can just briefly go through what I intended to address to the political parties. Maybe at a later date I might have the opportunity of talking to the rest. The first issue I want to talk about is on the security that we are expected to provide to the political parties during the electioneering first. Well, we've been writing individually or collectively to the parties to ask that they should send their programs for their political activities. I believe some of you must have been thinking that what is the business of the ECOMOG after the election commission has cleared that from 17th of June electioneering is going to start, why we should be writing. We are not trying to enforce, but we reckon that this is a very special arrangement. To date, we have 16 registered political parties. Monjama, Banga. The rest of the places, I can't see how 3 or 4 political parties can meet there at a time without having a confrontation. So what we were asking for your program was to coordinate in order that we provide you that security that you need to be able to conduct your electioneering without any harassment from anybody. We wanted to get the schedule so that we can now sit down, work through and see that no 3 political parties or 2 political parties are going to meet in a small place like Chalmers at a particular time for the purpose of campaigning. When we see such a conflict, we sit down with those parties and discuss to see how they can rearrange the timings so that we don't have this type of conflict. I believe this is one way we can decipher the problem of having the type of conflict that happened on the 17th of June when the exercise started. So I believe with this understanding, you will get to know that what we are asking is not something that, and the electioneering was going to start very freely to give everybody opportunity of expressing their views. We have since then tried to correct and to address those situations. I can tell you that we have a few people that were positively identified to have masterminded this that are in detention. If we have the right to provide security, we should have the right to investigate, compile the report, and pass them over to the police. How they are prosecuted will not be a problem, but we want to ensure that this does not happen. In order that you feel free to move to any part of the country to carry out your electioneering, we are requesting that political parties, those that necessarily feel that we should accompany them, should provide a vehicle that will contain nobody else but the security outfit that will be taking them to those places. The chairman of the election commission is here. We are totally responsible for the movement of the election materials, the personnel, to those areas where the elections are going to be held. So right now we are very much constrained on having to use any vehicle for any other purpose but for this. As a matter of fact, at very great inconvenience to ourselves, we have withdrawn all the vehicles that were even attached to our principal staff officers and commanders for the purpose of this exercise. It's actually a very important exercise that we feel we should do it without any hitches. And if that will inconvenience us a little, I think we can accept that. But in order that the political parties feel free and feel confident that they have our protection, we are asking that if we feel it is necessary, assign a vehicle that will carry nobody else but the security outfit that will be attached to your team when they are going out to any particular place. Particularly in a team where the presidential candidate is going to be a part of the campaign or the chairman. I'll leave that to the discussant to give me your views about it. Then the next thing is on the personal security of the presidential candidate. There is one of the parties I hardly know the people by name. Somebody went to the extent of going to the Nigerian embassy to complain that we have provided personal security to all the other candidates except their party. I'm not aware of this. Please, it's your entitlement. We were not mandated by the ECOWAS But then the next thing I wanted to talk about is on the use of the aircraft. I'm aware that some of the political parties are writing to, in fact, they have already embarked on the use of both helicopters and fixed-wing aircraft for their campaigning. I didn't seek the view of the Election Commission, but I believe if a party has the capability of mobilizing either helicopters or fixed-wing aircraft for their campaigning, it's not something we are opposed to, knowing the situation in Liberia. We know that a lot of places are completely inaccessible. I'll be coming to that point when I ask the officer, my chief election coordinator, to tell you how we arrived at the polling centers that we have advised the Election Commission on some of the areas that are totally inaccessible, that whatever we have to do in those areas have to be done. But we are saying to be able to do that, firstly, we want to get a helicopter or by any other aircraft. And the point of landing is where we have ECOMOG troops deployed. And for the purpose of the electioneering, I can assure you that if you are actually going out all along, we are deployed in every place where there is a population of over 500 people. So I can assure you that to be able to approve that you land in a point, it must be where ECOMOG is deployed so that people will reach it. And then we insist that we put ECOMOG, at least 2 soldiers, to be on such an aircraft. It will be good to say that you are leaving from here to go to Kakata or to Butana. But once you take home, you are outside our site. So you could do something that we might not be able to account for it. So such an aircraft, we must have a stay on it. And lastly, on the use of aircraft flight. By this we mean taking your flight to where there is a rally to fly over and disturb another party that is conducting an electioneering or campaign in a particular place. These are the preconditions that we must insist are met to be able to allow people the use of aircraft for the electioneering. Confident that by 17th of June, when electioneering was going to start, things were going to be very normal within the boundaries of Liberia, to the extent that we had planned to lift the curfew in the whole, well, the curfew is in Monrovia. We have planned to lift the curfew from 17th of February. Unfortunately, we have found that is not the case. Even here in Monrovia, and we all live here in Monrovia, so you can testify to that, that the situation, the security situation is not foolproof as we would have wanted. I made a press release a few days ago to talk about individuals who were planning to eliminate their political opponents. And that was based on very informed, intelligent resources of our own. As I said, we are keeping those individuals under surveillance. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to assure you that anybody attempting that type of thing in Liberia will deal with them with every measure of ruthlessness. I think we have gone through too much suffering to allow individuals to contemplate on eliminating people only because they have their political opponents. I think this is a good opportunity after several to sell the idea to people to vote for them. If we cannot win the election by convincing the people, then pull out honorably, other than planning to eliminate somebody. As a result of this, we are able to assist the political parties. We want to say that if you need to hold meetings among the party executives, we can grant curfew that we can assist. I'm very reluctant back almost 5 years after as a post commander, and that curfew is still in place. It's not supposed to be a punishment, but it's a measure of security to ensure that life is brought back to normal. And my assumption was that by the time we start the electioneering, things would have been very normal. And I'm sure you very well know things are not that normal. So this is the only exception we can give to create an environment where the executives of all the political parties are granted curfew passes to be able to meet as late as they want. We'll be reviewing this situation from time to time, in fact, on a weekly basis. And I believe by the time the electioneering is over, we would have completely lifted the curfew. Lastly, I've been seeing a lot of articles in the papers directly accusing the election commission on the selection of polling centers. Ladies and gentlemen, we did a very, very thorough job that took us almost 3 months to assist the election commission. We did this not because it's to do it. You came when I was just on the last item. We were actually about to cancel the meeting because some indicated they could not get here because of the that's what I was told. So we are about to cancel it, but having kept such personalities here, I think it will not be fair just to cancel the meeting. So I took the opportunity of bringing them on some issues, which I'll be discussing with you when we finish from here. The last point I was talking was on the verification exercise and how we arrived at the polling centers. I don't know whether you have published them already.
Yes, the first list published and the final list will not be published.
Okay. I am saying that we took a lot of time in making this verification. We used the 1985 election data, and before I call the officer to give you the full brief, I'll just give you an example of what we found out. A job that was done very, very thoroughly, and we stand to be corrected if anybody. We had 83. We have been able to identify 21. Unidentified, deserted, not recommended, we have 62. The population is 45,100. Maryland, 40,000 by ICON, identified 39, unidentified, deserted, not recommended 1. Population 31,075. It goes on like that. But let me give you where we have got additional polling centers. I shouldn't just talk only about the negative. In Bonn.
At the exception of the carriage side, I don't know it's very common to 90% of transaction policies of our county. These amounted to continued existence of these centers, population, access routes, and finally recommend the feasibility of the centers based on aforementioned factors. This exercise took a period of 6 weeks to conclude. At the end of the exercise, the compilation, which was what has just been finished, was arrived.
The verification, as I said earlier, entails visiting in detail some of these locations, most of which, especially in the southeast, we could only go by helicopters. Some, they had to go by road to a certain point, disembark and continue the verification by road, that in some cases took up to 48 hours. But we wanted to be very thorough in our mind, such that if there is any argument at any point in time, like I've started seeing in papers, individuals sitting here in Monrovia and writing on things that they have barely no knowledge of. I wanted this opportunity of letting you know how we arrived at this. And I think it's an exercise we did. If we are not commanded by anybody, I think ICOM should commend them. Because we knew they didn't have the capability of undertaking this type of exercise. Our deployment for now that has covered every little population center, I think has taken care of this. What we said initially was that with the way we deployed, if at the end of the exercise, ICOM found it necessary to create more polling centers, it would be easy for us to remove people from some centers to deploy into those centers. This is what we have done today. And I believe the chairman will not contradict me. We didn't consult with each other, we just gave this to him. And I believe that he's going to accept it. It's a very thorough job that we did. And I thought I should let you know. But my duty is just reminding. Some political parties have been writing to ECOWAS, I'm sure you ladies and gentlemen, you understand. If I do that to ARCOP and I don't do it to UP, automatically I'm supporting ARCOP and not UP. I cannot afford to be in that type of position. So we'll be replying to those that wrote to us as to facilitate their movement. It was easier to do this when we were dealing with factions. We allow them access to every one of the facilities. Now there are political parties, and we have 16 of them. If we are going to be giving you helicopters to go for electioneering, I think we might as well wind down and sit down back here to support the political party instead of supporting the election commission as we are trying to do now. So it's not out of selfishness, but on principle, we cannot go out to support a political party. And I'm not going to watch and wait for people to throw stones at me. When you throw stones, I throw bullets. I might not shoot to kill you, but I'll shoot to maim you. So that next time you don't throw stones at anybody else. So these are the few points I wanted to discuss with you. Once again, let me say I'm very honored that you accepted this invitation at such a very short notice to attend this meeting. I have no right by what? To invite leaders of political parties to come for this type of meeting. But since we are providing security, I think it's important that we sit and discuss with you. Where you see lapses, call them to our attention. And we'll try to rectify to make sure that the remaining period for the electioneering, besides the obstruction from the rain, you don't have any other problem of other human factors. So I'll stop at this point and ask the chairman if there is anything you want to say before we get the response.
ECOMOG for the work that he has already alluded to. When we began the exercise of deciding where we would have polling stations, we took as a reference point, of course, what was already on paper, realistic in face of the developments which have taken place in our country recently. When ECOMOG embarked on this exercise, we waited very anxiously because we saw that it was going to be one that was beneficial to us. And finally, it was completed, and we received it, and we're very grateful to General Malu for this. Now, we therefore revised our list of polling centers because we now had information and data which was realistic. Simultaneously, UNIMIL had also been doing some studies and had been feeding information to us. And so what finally evolved, what we are now using, the final list, which has been published, will be circulated soon, is based on the realities of our situation. In the meantime, ECOWAS had written to us on a policy issue, telling us that due to circumstances that exist in the country, due to the realities that we face on the ground, in the same way that it was accepted that not all Liberians will be able to participate in these elections. For instance, those in refugee camps who cannot be brought home for this election, we would have to admit that not every single individual in Liberia will be able to be reached by the Elections Commission for the purposes of this election. And we should therefore try to do the best we can with the resources and the situation in hand. And so we had as a reference point that we should try to reach as many people as possible, beginning with clusters of people. What if you have clusters of people in separate groups, not 500, but relatively close together? And again, I was thinking parallel that over and do their registering and their voting. And this is how we have proceeded. Now, as the General said, We have heard and seen articles about the fact that certain people will be disenfranchised, certain groups will not be able to vote. We think really this is making hasty conclusions, and we are trying to appeal once more for people to make conclusions on the basis of the realities that we face. As I told one group the other day, ICOM cannot go into an area and carry on electioneering activities without being sure that ECOMOG can guarantee the kind of security that is necessary for the process. Because if we did, and there were any misfortunes or anything, the first question would be, why did you go into an area which a organization responsible for security has not been able to guarantee to you? So keeping that in mind, we want to again in this public manner thank General Malu and ECOMOG for the assistance they gave us here, and also to UNIMIL for the assistance they've given us. Thank you.
Do this exercise of verification jointly. Unfortunately, they are not as widely deployed as we are in ECOMOG because of their limited number and so on. For now, they are mainly in the county capitals and in some cases, 1 or 2 additional places within the county, which is not the case with us. We deliberately targeted areas with populations. Then we targeted the entry points into Liberia through La Côte d'Ivoire, through Guinea, through Sierra Leone. Well, we were doing this from a security point of view to allow arms we were searching shape it takes will not have any effect on the political process in Liberia. I wanted to reserve this to let you know. And this is mainly because of the way we deployed for the disarmament and for the purpose of this election. We didn't at any time imagine that we're going to have this type of situation in a neighboring country. But it's good that we did that. Now it has come to our advantage. So I'm assuring you that whatever happens in Sierra Leone, whether the government is reversed immediately or at a later date, will not affect the situation of the political process in Liberia. So you came late, let me go around this way. But